I've got another classic fly fishing founders episode this week with a company you may not have heard of before, but has been going strong for 25 years. Fly rod accessories and cases today on the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show.
Welcome to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show, where you discover tips, tricks, and tools from the leading names in fly fishing today.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by the Fly Fishing Show today. Before we jump into it, I just wanted to give you a quick heads up on this show, which was actually recorded in the Clubhouse app. I wanted to give you a quick little rundown on Clubhouse if you haven't heard of it. We're doing some of these live shows on the app, which actually allows audience members, listeners like yourself, to come up on stage, either stay in the audience or actually raise your hand and come up on stage and ask questions directly with our guests. So I'm kind of testing it out, and this is one of the first ones we've done. So there's mostly it's just an interview, podcast. But if you're interested, send me an email at dave@wetflyswing.com, and I can let you in. That's the one catch right now, if you're listening to this in 2021, is that it's by invite only since it's in beta mode. So, but I can let a few people in, and would love to let you in if you want to join. You can also just go to wetflyswing.com/clubhouse. And that'll connect you with an app. And you can kind of see what we got going there. I'll be updating these each week when we do them. I'm not quite sure on the schedule, but just did want to give you a heads up so you're not surprised when we talk about Clubhouse a few times in this app, and just realize what we're doing here. So again, I'm just trying to, always stretch the podcast where I can. I think that helps us grow, try new things, and just, provide value for you. I think I'm always trying to think of ways we can connect and keep things fun. So again, Clubhouse, check it out, wetflyswing.com/clubhouse, and you can see when we have the next one that's scheduled. Today, Matt Wray, the founder of BW Sports, tells a story of how he put together a 25-year fly fishing business in the accessory space. We find out how Matt was able to get some of the big box stores to buy in. He's been there for a long time. Why I love his doctor's bag, and also the reason that many people love the double barrel super rod case that Matt produces. So, and one other thing before we get started today, I want to remind you and give you a heads up that at the end of this episode, we're going to be giving away a double barrel rod case from BW Sports. If you want to enter to win this double barrel rod case, just listen to the very end, and there'll be a little secret password we're going to give you at the very end of this show. So hang in till the end, and we'll give you a chance and show you how to get involved and win this case. It's going to be pretty cool because, obviously people that are listening will know about this, but it'll probably be a pretty small group that enters just given the numbers. So check it out. Follow, listen to the show, and then check us out at the end. Tons of good stuff in this Fly Fishing Founders. So without further ado, here is Matt Wray from bwsports.com. How's it going, Matt?
Good, Dave. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. This is pretty cool. This is like the first time we've been doing some Clubhouse, some sessions, some rooms with the bigger one on Thursday night with mix it up with Ask About Fly Fishing and Fly Fishing 97 podcast. This is the first official Wet Fly Swing podcast, where we're basically, this is exactly how I would do any podcast. The only difference is that we're live and people could jump in, although I'm still not quite sure if it's fully, I know we're recording, so that's the important thing. So we're going to jump into a little bit on your background, how you got into the, how BW Sports came to be, what the BW is, and anything else we want to jump into. But first, maybe just talk about how you first got into fly fishing and then how you brought that in all into the company.
Well, I started as a kid. We used to, my dad loved to warm water fish, ponds and stuff like that. So caught lots of little bluegills and bass when I was a kid on flies and stuff like that. And then I didn't really do too much. And then I moved out to Utah, and I had a neighbor across the street from me who was a big fly fisherman. He loved to go up and float tube. And so he finally hauled me up there one time. And so up to Strawberry Reservoir, it's a big reservoir here in Utah, and it's a wonderful fishery. And so started fishing there, and we would float tube and kick around and really did pretty well. It was a lot of sinking line type stuff, wet fly stuff, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of how I got started. And that's kind of how we got our first product too, was was kind of from that.
That's it. So okay, so and then where were you at when you put this together, when you got your idea for your first product?
It was actually at Strawberry. We were out fishing one day, and so we're kicking around, and this guy is trolling. I see him out. He's quite a ways out in the lake, and he's just kind of screaming along. And I'm thinking, how is he doing that? And then I look behind him, and he's got a trolling motor kind of built into his float tube. And there was a company that you could buy. I think it was like $800 or $900. You could buy. It was a float tube with a power pack all sewn together as one item. And the power pack just held a battery with a trolling motor. And so I thought, wow, that's really slick, but I bet you I could come up with something that would fit all float tubes. And then we came up with what was called our float power product, which was kind of a float tube that held a battery bucket with a motor mount on it. And then you could drop in a trolling motor and a standard deep cycle battery. And then it had straps on it, would come up and strap to either side of your float tube. And then it just would pull you backwards. And it was a pretty slick product. That's what started the company. That's what kind of got us going. So we sold it for a number of years. We don't make it anymore because a lot of people use pontoons and they hook it onto a pontoon or their own they want to. So, but yeah, that's how we got it rolling.
Gotcha. And when you had that first product going, how did it? How did that even have you been doing products prior to that? I mean, how did the idea come to be?
Thing, kind of our first foray into the fishing market, and I took it and we built the prototype, and then kind of got it going in here in Utah. Sold it to just had it with a few of our friends, and then I hauled it over to Denver, and then over to Cabela's, and Cabela's picked it up. I think the first year they sold like 450 units or something like that, and so it was pretty popular for them. They had it for 3 or 4 years. And then the pontoon market kind of took off. It was so funny. If you look at Cabela's, they could, whatever one product they want to sell, they'll devote a whole page to it in their catalog at that time, right? And then our product would be a little 2-inch square, down in the bottom corner of some page in the middle of nowhere, and it's just the way they market themselves. And of course, they make way more money selling their own stuff, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I gotcha. So, no, it's interesting. I love hearing, how you jumped into it. And then 450. So, what was the price point for that product?
It was about right around $100, I guess, when it first came out.
Okay.
A little less. And that gave you the inner tube, the nylon bag, like the float tube, and then the battery bucket with the motor mount on it. So all you needed to provide was the battery and the trolling motor. And on the trolling motor, normally they come set up to push, right? So when you turn the throttle handle, it's going to push you forward. And all you had to do was just remove the bolt below the throttle handle and spin it around 180 degrees and then put it back through. And now it would pull you backwards with 5 speeds instead of running in reverse the whole time.
Gotcha.
So when you're float tubing, you always want to be kicking or going backwards, right? So that you're not coming up on top of your line. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember that product, but I do remember that period when it switched from float tubes over to pontoons. And
yeah.
What year was that roughly when you think the
so
switch?
We started 96.
Oh wow, yeah,
97, 98, and then probably around 2000 is when it started to switch to pontoons. And everyone wanted a pontoon to go down the river, but then they realized they can't row and fish at the same time, and it's hard to row and fish. So then rod holders kind of came into being for pontoons. So,
right.
That probably would have been a good product, but yeah, you don't have your hands free. So
yeah. That's right. Cool. But yeah, let's keep moving along this. So describe so BW Sports. So just, I know you have more products now than just the
yeah. So
describe, what do you got going?
A buddy of mine, Reed Beck, he was the B in BW and I was the W. And so it's nothing more complicated than that.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, but Reed had so much going on with his computer company that he didn't have time to really do it. So I kind of pretty much took it over after about the first 6 months or year and kind of ran with it. I had a very good friend of mine actually lived in my neighborhood, Mike Pratt. And Mike owned a company called OGIO. I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but huge golf bag manufacturer, and then manufactured all of Callaway's golf bags. And so he set me up with his people over in Taiwan, which is where we would get our stuff sewn, right? So I would have like on a rod case, you would have the sleeves. I have the sleeves, the outer Cordura case sewn, and then the inner sleeve, and then that all comes here, and then we do all the pipe cutting and assembly and all that, and put it together and do all the shipping. So anyway, yeah, it was great. And one thing that we couldn't do, we basically came out, I guess we had the Float Power product, and we came out with two wader bags that were, one was called the hump bag and another one was called a wet dry bag. And the one was kind of like a garment bag where you hung it up and it had all mesh in the front of it and stuff. And so you could just hang your waders up when you got home. You didn't have to take them out of the bag, and they would all dry. But it just wasn't real popular. People weren't used to using it. We had kind of a really bad color. We had a like a forest green, and then we also had kind of like a purple, but it ended up being kind of a lighter purple. So it was a bad color. And if you wanted to make a bag, I'd recommend the first color you go with is black, right? I mean, if you look like when you get off the airline, right? I mean, 95% of all the bags coming off of the belt are black. And so you can't go wrong with black. Black works for just about everything. So, but we never really did anything in black. We did, forest green was always a popular color. We did some grays and some blues. And now we kind of pretty much do the olive with gray is a very popular color for what we have.
Yeah. But, so you're still doing the rod, it's the rod reel case, right?
Yeah, we do all our rod reel cases now in the olive and gray, and we have some that are gray with a navy or a blue pocket on them. A couple of our styles, but they sell maybe, I don't know, we'll sell 10 to 1 olive over a gray color. It's just the way it is. I mean, color is kind of important for people. So the only reason they change colors is they have multiple cases. I had a guy email me this week that has 10 cases and wanted to know why we didn't have the gray with blue pockets anymore in one of our dual 4-piece cases. And I said, it just wasn't popular enough to keep carrying the color. So he says, well, the only reason I wanted is because I have all the other ones are olive. When you grab the case, you know what's in it, right? So, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I guess you can't satisfy everybody. So looking back on it, I mean, now, how many years has this business been going?
Just about 20, a little over 25 years.
Yeah, 25 years. What's been the most challenging thing being in the fly fishing space and trying to create a successful business?
Well, yeah, and in the product business, it's, if I have an accounting background, I have a sales background and stuff, and accounting accounts for about 5% of what I do, and 95% of what you do is sell. So if you're not into selling, then you don't want to be in the product business.
Are you into selling?
Oh, you have to. Yeah, you have to.
You love it? Do you love it?
What's that?
Do you really love selling?
No, not really.
It's not your favorite thing.
I don't think anybody really loves selling. But
I'll just. I was recently, just so I don't forget this note. Alice Heiman, who's a part of Heiman in Miller and Heiman, I guess, international sales training group. She was on our Outdoors Online Marketing podcast, and I asked her that same question. I was like, so do people, do you have to love selling to be a good seller or whatever? And she basically said, the people that love it, that really love the selling, are the great salespeople. You know what I mean? But there's tons of people that do awesome that aren't, you know what I mean, that aren't the greatest. And that kind of resonates with me a little bit, right? Because it's not, it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I always love the people aspect of it. But when I started out, I have 4 products. I had a chest pack also that did well. And this is a good example. Like 3 out of 4 companies that start are going to fail. And then out of the products, 3 out of 4 out of the product line, I had 4 products. One was an average seller, like the Float Power. That was just kind of average seller. One was stellar, which was the chest pack. We did really well with that. And 2 were duds, which were the 2 wet dry bags. So from that, then you kind of go with what's working. So we came up with different varieties of chest packs, right? and no more wader bags for a while. And then the Float Power just kind of kept holding its own. And then eventually we got into the rod case business. But in order to get out there and get your product out there, because we started from zero, right? I had Cabela's, but Cabela's, they carried our chest pack for about a year, and then they go, hey, chest packs are kind of the cool thing. We'll devote an entire page to the brand new one we're going to do. And with the VW Sportsman, we're going to put in a little section down at the bottom on a totally different page.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens. So they're just out, what I helped advance them was I gave them product ideas in some cases. And it's the same way with Bass Pro Shops. I used to see them years ago, and, they took some of my product ideas. Next thing I know, that no, we're not interested, but it's in our catalog because, we made it. So there's no copyrights on a lot of sewn and stitched items. You just kind of always have to be out in front, I guess.
Okay.
So in other words, the only way to get going is I had to go see all these. And back in the day, it was probably, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years after A River Runs Through It came out, and that was set all fly shops up, and people opened fly shops, and everybody wanted to fly fish until they realized they don't catch big fish like Brad Pitt. So, and then all of a sudden it kind of calmed way off after that. And but there was lots of little shops to go see at Ma's and Pa's, and they would always buy this or that or a few of these. And I just had to travel. I traveled all over the West for years, and the East Coast a little bit, but not as much because it was just harder to get there from where I'm located in Utah. So, but it just took a lot of door knocking, and then currently, you have to, if you want to make it, you have to be in a big box type store. Like we're like in Sportsman's Warehouse, we started with them when they were just one store. So now they have, I think, over 100. Oh, wow. They just got bought by Bass Pro or merged. So it's kind of Cabela's, Bass Pro, and Sportsman's now is all going to be that's company, I believe. So yeah, it's going to be huge. And then, so anyway, that's kind of how it works. And then we do Amazon, of course, and Amazon has been good for us because they really have handled the East Coast for us pretty well. I had reps, and reps work pretty good for our stuff, but you got to understand that we're like such a small part of the fly fishing market. Accessories and bags is like maybe 10% of the market. Oh yeah. Market. I mean, it's 80% of reels and flies. And then, you have the big clothing, waders and boots, that type of stuff that's required to fish. But our stuff, you don't have to have a rod case to fish.
No, that's right.
So it's an accessory that people get just to protect their equipment, right? We're like luggage, I guess.
That's right. How did you guys, how did that first, was it easy to get into the, when you first got into Sportsman's and Cabela's?
I just had to go see them and talk to them, and they were just a Sportsman's was easy because it's just one store. It's kind of a warehousing type store, for fishing, and they handle fishing and hunting, camping, all that type of stuff, and they've done very well. And then you just had to go see them and talk to their buyers, and if you hit it off with them, you were good. And we just tried to make something that was affordable, that was durable, and that was attractive and worked well. And we weren't trying to be the top of the line. And today it's kind of all shifted, right? So my product works very well in a Sportsman's Warehouse because they're more likely in a city. It doesn't work very good in a destination fly shop. People aren't going to like Cody, Montana, or it's a Cody, Wyoming, I guess, to buy necessarily a rod case. They should have their rod case with them, or they're going to, be guided. They're going to go fish. They need flies. They may need, tippet leader, all those accessory pieces that they need to fish with, but they don't need a rod case necessarily. So you're not going to sell a ton of rod cases in Cody, Wyoming, whereas in Salt Lake, you may sell a bunch of them, right? Because people need to get their equipment loaded up and get out of here.
Hey, let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsor. I want to give you a quick rundown on the Turtlebox Bluetooth speaker. I've been using this bad boy around the house, on the river, over at the cabin, kind of wherever we can get it, wherever we need music. I've been going strong with the Turtlebox. So I want you to check this thing out. The guys are over at Turtlebox are totally into the outdoors. They love respecting the peace and beauty, of course, while on the water. But listening to music is great. Who doesn't love a little tunes? That's actually one of my favorite segments in the show, when I can ask my, guests about what music they listen to. And maybe you're even listening to this right now on a speaker. So I've been doing that as well. Listen to some of these podcast episodes on the Turtlebox Bluetooth speaker. This thing's bomber. You can throw it out in the river. You could throw it in the back of the truck. You can freeze it. You can take a look at the guys over at Turtlebox on Instagram and see where they're getting this thing out there. I can tell you it is super tough, super durable, and made for the outdoors. So I just am super excited. Did I say super again? I'm not going to say super anymore, but I'm really excited for this thing. I'm really excited that Turtlebox is a sponsor of this show, and I want you to check them out. If you can, head over to wetflyswing.com/turtlebox so you can support a great company, this podcast, and some great tunes all at the same in one spot. Hey, I want to thank you again. If you had a chance to purchase the Turtlebox, really appreciate your support. Now let's get back to the show. What's all these years, so 25 years, what's what's kept you going?
Just needed the money.
Yeah.
It was and I've kind of gotten to a point now where I've done well enough that I don't need it as much anymore. So it's not a big deal. But to be honest, it was dead slow a year from now in March, right? March, it was super slow. April was almost non-existent. And then May fired it right back up because everybody decided, well, I'm leaving. I'm going outside and fish. I'm getting out. I can't stand it indoors anymore. And this year it's been the same, except even bigger. Right. So the sales have been almost double what they were last year at this, easily last time in March and April. But yeah, April for me will be the biggest month I've ever had.
No kidding. So if you take out the money out of it, you're probably not still making BW sports stuff.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, eventually I would sell the company and if somebody else could take it over and keep going. But yeah, I don't have to, if I decided I didn't need to, but yeah, it fed the family and paid the rent and the mortgage and all that. And
that's amazing.
And traveling. And I did enjoy, we would go and actually sell at consumer shows, the fly fishing shows. We would go to just a couple of them, one in California and the one in Denver. And it was just great to meet the people again, and you just see the same guys that come through. I mean, you've been to the shows, Dave.
Yeah.
See the same guys over and over, but it was fun to talk to them and they loved our stuff. And it was, but then it gets to be where, do I really want to drive across the Sierras, in the middle of February and, and, go do a show that I have to be at on this set time or in the wintertime? Like, if I was going to go travel, I wouldn't travel unless the week was going to be, for the most part, clear and up to Montana and back. Otherwise, why drive through a blizzard if you don't have to? Yeah. So
Gotcha. No, it's cool to hear, all these, it's such a small niche, right? We talk about a lot on the podcast about how small the just the fly fishing niche is. And then you're in this tiny, accessory niche, but you've made a business out of it for like a quarter of a century, it's pretty amazing to think about. What would be your, when you think about other companies just getting going? I've got Stonefly Nets, Ethan, we were talking about, and he's kind of more just getting started. What would you tell him as a tip to maybe help him keep going strong in the space?
The key is, I think, it's just about continuing to sell. It's just you gotta keep going and selling and keep after them and stuff. You've got to work your way into the bigger places if you can. If you can get into a bigger store, then you can certainly get the volume up and then you can start to do pretty well. Yeah.
How do you sell when you say that, continue to sell? I mean, what was did you have a process where like, okay, I'm going to call 20 people today or something like that?
Yeah. I would just do a tour. So I was going to go, let's see, I would go to Oregon, Washington, right? So I would head up and go through Boise and nail everybody in Boise that I could. And then the next stop was pretty much going to be Portland area and Salem and Medford.
And how would you decide who to talk to?
Well, at one time there was a fly fishing retailers catalog, and I don't know if they still make it or not, but it used to list all of the stores that carried fly fishing gear, and I don't know how many thousands of them there were. And so you just go down the list, and I just call people out of the blue and tell them what I was selling and tell them I'd be in town about X. I was always letting them know I was coming.
So you would call. So you just. I mean, you were cold calling. So you what was your? Did you get a lot? I mean, what percentage of people were like, no, don't stop by?
Nobody.
Oh, really? Everybody was. Yeah, there you go.
Say yeah. Almost everybody would say yeah, sure, I got time. Except
cool.
Unless you're a big store, then it'd be like, man, we carry a lot of this and that. We're not really that interested in. And
yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
So what was your pitch when you went into, say, a local fly shop and you wanted to, what would it go down? Take us to that meeting.
I don't know. I guess I would walk in, and if it was someone I had talked to, I'd ask for, let's say his name was Bob or something. I say, "Could I speak to Bob, please?" And he goes, "Yeah, he's in the back, or I'll grab him for you," or something like that. And they'd come out, and I'd bring my stuff right in the store with me. Kind of wheel it in. I'd have a chest pack and a waiter bag and a rod case and stuff like that. And I just kind of walk through what our line on and show them our pricing and kind of how we set it up and what might work for him. What does he like to sell? What's his, and because some rods do come with cases, but most people, it's just mostly a case to handle a rod and not the reel. And people really like to just leave their reels on, wind them up. A lot of people, I'm surprised, like to leave their flies on and the lines all mounted. So I never do that, but a lot of people like to do that, and that's fine. So anyway, we would just walk through it, and I would just go through it, and I'd have a catalog and take him through the pictures and the waiters and stuff, and the product we had, and let him show it and try it. And mostly our prices were good, so he knew he could sell it at a 100% markup off of what he was getting from us, and be able to sell it pretty easily.
Gotcha.
I remember one time I was in outside of Aspen in Carbondale, and there was a nice shop there, and I visited him and sold him some chest packs. I don't know, 5 or 6, and the next year I stopped by again, or later I called him back to see how it was going. He said, "Oh yeah, we sold through those during the year easily."
Yep.
And I said, "I'd like to order more," and he goes, "Yeah, I don't think so." And I go, "Well, why is that? They sold for you." He goes, "You got to understand." He says, "I'm going to have 15 guys come in here this year that are going to buy chest packs. And these guys, since they're kind of from Aspen and they're coming up here, they don't care what it costs.
No.
So I sell yours at $50, or I could sell them one at $150, and they don't care. So I'm going to sell them the $150 one." And I go, "Well, I totally agree." That's what I would do, right? So from the smaller destination shop anymore for us, has just not been a big seller. We mostly sell to the bigger chains. Like an example would be Bob Ward's out of Missoula, right? They're great stores, and they have 5 or 6 stores across Montana. And we have the same thing with the Fishing Hole in Canada, and they have 5 or 6 stores across Canada, mostly in the western side. And so they do very well with our products. They're stores, and they can market it well. But the individual person who's more of a destination thing, the individual shop like that is a lot tougher. And they're going to sell high end, and they can sell that. You have some people that walk through the door, and they, I wanted to fly fish, and he's standing there in penny loafers and some jeans and doesn't know a clue, but he thought it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So they just sell him the whole house, right? I mean, he walks out of there spending $3,000 or $4,000, and he's a happy guy, right? Because and he's going to fish all week long, and he's loving it. So I mean, that's their clientele, and it works good for them. Mine is kind of like the guy who, maybe anywhere from 18 years old or 16 to 80.
Yeah.
And he wants a case, and because he got a new rod, he wants something good that's going to work for him, and away he goes. And if you've got good salespeople in those stores, they'll sell him the rod, and they'll go, "Hey, before you get out of here, you need to have a case. Otherwise, I don't have you coming back in. I snapped it off of my car door," or something like that,
Yeah.
So
that's
anyway.
cool. I mean, it makes sense. It's and you found your niche, right? The Sportsman's type bigger box stores is your niche, because people are going in there. They're probably not going to spend as much. They probably don't have like $300 for a vest or whatever. They're not going to buy a Patagonia, whatever.
And the thing that's been interesting, Sportsman. So I bet you we have a lot. Amazon, I bet you in our business, probably sells to a lot of ladies, because they're girlfriends or wives or sisters or daughters, and they want to get their dad something, and they don't know what, and they don't want to go to a sporting goods store because that's just not their thing. So they go, "Well, what is it? What's it called?" And they just go on Amazon, look it up. He goes, Is this it, Dad? Can I get this for your birthday?"
Yeah.
Sure. Bam. She orders it in 5 seconds, and she's done. Right? Didn't have to go down and fight through a bunch of guys in camo through a sporting goods. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Feeling, so it was easy for her. And I think that's probably, I mean, we have lots of guys buy off of Amazon, but it's so easy for them to just tell her, "Hey, go buy that, or go to sportsmans.com and buy it. They've got it there. I know they sell it online too. So,
yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
What it is.
And that's like, I mean, you've pretty much just niched down. The good example is your website. I mean, you basically have just kind of a placeholder there. It's, there's not much there from as far as the user experience, blogging or anything, that stuff, because you don't really need it. You've got your box stores. You're not even sending people to your website. You send them to, where's the first place? If like right now I want to buy a new rod case, where do you send me?
I would usually send them to Sportsman's or something like that. Yeah, that's usually where they would go.
Sportsman, because Sportsman, will you get a better profit than a Amazon?
And they have a better price.
Better price, yeah.
Amazon is set up strictly to handle customers, and they want their customers to just love them. They don't care about their vendors.
Nope.
Not interested in whether you are making money or not.
No.
You know what it's going to be, and this is where we're going to run it. And if you don't like it, oh well.
Yeah, I hear you. I actually sold on Amazon. I was an FBA for I think almost 3 years, and it was it was really it was really terrible. Eventually, I eventually got out of. I had people that took over my listing. I sold a lot, quite a really high amount of volume, and it was crazy. There was points where people would come in from wherever around the world, and they'd take you over, and you weren't selling anything until you figured out how to get them. And then you'd call Amazon and say, "Hey, I need help," and they'd be like, "We don't really care too much about the sellers."
Yeah. And the toughest thing for us is to get a price increase through, and the prices have gone up. I know the economy, they're talking about inflation and whatnot, and that's actually really probably going to happen pretty well. But our prices have gone up a lot from overseas, just in that, and pipe prices have gone up, and I use vinyl fencing in some of our rod tubes that are the more rectangular ones, the 3000 series, and so you can use a higher spinning guide. It's about 3.5 inches high, so it'll let you have a higher spinning guide. But all those have gone up too, like 5 to 15%, and the sewing stuff has gone up, quite a bit too. And trying to get a price increase through Amazon is like, you got to be, like, you're kidding me, right? We can't be competitive if you increase the price.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah, this is that whole thing. Well, let's talk. I'm gonna do a quick little reset, just so we're on Clubhouse, and I'm gonna probably edit some of this as we go, but. And we got Matt Wray from BW Sports. We're just talking about his company, which has been going on for 25 years, and we'll be hopefully doing these Clubhouse every Saturday morning, and then also we have a fly fishing Q&A Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So if you want your questions answered, you can go to the Q&A on Thursday. But yeah, let's talk about back to the product. So you've talked about some of them. One of them I have is the we call it the medicine bag, the dry proof, the waterproof bag, the gray.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that one. How'd that one come to be? Because that's kind of an interesting bag. It's been the first time I used it. I remember I was heading up to a long trip up north, and it was my little side bag. I was on a raft the whole time, and it kind of kept the stuff I needed dry. Talk about how that thing came to be.
Yeah. So you had the one you have is a zipper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So originally right before that product, we had a boat sider bag, and the boat sider bag was a really clever product that worked awesome for guys. It was more of a rectangular bag, probably about, 18 inches long by 8 wide by 8 deep. And it zipped open on the top. And then it had 2 hooks that hung it on the gunnel. So you could hang it on the gunnel. It would be right to your right side or left side if you were a rower or a guide, and it stayed up out of the water. But then we had other guys that just didn't. The guys that used that loved it. They really liked, because it was always just right there. They could just reach into it, grab it, what they wanted. But then guys were saying, we go through the rapids and everything's getting splashed or wet all the time. So we did a roll down bag, like a normal rafting bag. But it was just too hard for them to access, because what they want is something they can grab all their tackle out of. So then we came up with the zipper top dry bag out of the dry fabric, and it was easier for them because they could just unzip that, open it up, grab what they wanted, zip it tight. And if the water was splashing in on top of it, nothing was going to get wet. So that's the idea. It's not made to submerge. You can't throw it out and hold it under the water and say it's not going to leak, because it will. But for the most part, the splashing and sitting in 6 inches of water in your boat, or 4 or whatever it is, it'll do just fine like that. So,
gotcha.
And it's just another kind of, as you went around to shops, you'd find out what people like, or they'd talk to you about the product. Yeah, I've been using this and it works really well, but what would really be cool would be this, Yeah. And where you kind of reinvent and stuff. And the last number of years, I haven't been too inventive at all. One thing that's nice about the fishing business is it doesn't change rapidly. It's not like you're selling Nike shoes. And like Nikes, you got to have a different color about every 6 months. You got to have a whole new style. It's got to have a new tread pattern. I mean, everything, it's just this huge competition for appearance. And in the fishing business, no one's worried about appearance. They're worried about performance. So is it going to last me for 20 years? I hope so, that type of thing.
It has.
And, yeah, that kind of stuff. So like on our one thing we did do, we had a lot of people that would saltwater fish. And of course, on our packs, then we would put all nylon glides. Now, you have a nylon zipper, the zip part, right? But then the glide that closes and opens the zipper, for the most part, are CAD or they're painted, right? And those would instantly jam after one use in the salt. You get salt in it and it pops the cadmium off the metal and it would jam up. And so all of our bags use nylon glides, which is nice because you could take them and dip them in salt water all day long and they'll still just work just perfect, right? So that was one thing we found out. The guys would call back and say, hey, I took your pack out. I was surf fishing with it the other day and it just, now it's all jammed up. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. What did you do about it when they said that to you?
Yeah. So, and I said, hey, I said, we got a new one coming out next year when, and I've replaced products for people, that have had something damaged or torn or break or whatever, or shoulder straps. I seem to send a bunch of those out because they'll break a clip off or it'll get shipped with it broken or something. So,
yeah. Have you ever had a hole when you're, like an inventory? I guess it's probably different now, but early on where you got a shipment of 1,000 units and they were all defective or something like that?
No, my people are really good. So they used to sew all the Jan Sports stuff and things like that. They sew high-end luggage, airline luggage. So they're really good. And that's the key. Years ago, people said, you should go to China and get it cheaper. And I said, no, Taiwan, they're just way better and they're more professional and everything about it's better.
Yeah.
And they're great. And I haven't been to Taiwan now for, I don't know, 12, 15 years. It's been a long time because I can pretty much sketch it out, email it to them and they go, oh yeah, we got it. We'll make a sample for you and send it over. So they do. And
that's cool.
Always been work with. Yeah.
On that bag, what's that bag called? The gray bag, the waterproof?
Our dry tackle bag.
And do you still sell that?
We do. Do you have is yours just all gray with any outer pockets?
No outer pockets. Nope.
New one now has 2 outer pockets that are just Cordura for extra storage. It's not waterproof, but it gives you more volume.
Okay. The one thing I noticed on that bag, it's kind of weird because it's pretty much all waterproof, and for the most part, water doesn't get in, but doesn't have a couple little holes below the zipper. Like you couldn't dunk it underwater, right?
It's not like a roll down wrap bag where you can submerge it. You can the water and hold it under and it'll still be watertight. No, this is basically made to sit in water and to have water splashed on top of it.
Yeah. And that's just because I guess you would do that, not have it fully because it makes it easier. You don't have to deal with I don't know.
Yeah. Really no way to make the zipper work because what we wanted to, it was kind of we wanted that wide mouth doctor's bag. Remember those old Western movies where the doctor would come in and open his bag up?
Well, that's the funny thing. Shannon, my buddy, when I first took on the trip, was the joke. He's like, oh, Dave's got his medicine bag, his doctor's bag.
Right. Yeah. And that's like that. So it was easy to put the trays in and out. And, everybody says, well, why would a fly guy use trays? Well, all these guys, the guides all use trays, right? They have trays full of flies. And it was easy for them to do that. And we used to sell the boat sider bag, the one that hung on the gunnel. We used to sell it with trays for the guides, although it usually weren't the trays they wanted, but it was okay. They could pitch them out and put whatever they wanted in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
gotcha.
Yeah, it was, it's just as you saw people and the same thing with the shows, and you're familiar with this too, Dave. You go to the shows and people they come and I use your stuff and it would be really cool if you did this. They always want to talk to you and give you ideas. I mean, they get emails all the time from guys. Most of the time the problem is with a rod case, hey, it doesn't work. And so we have to slide the end of the case off the end of the pipe. Then you can slide the rod straight in and just slip it right back on. And that way you're not flexing your rods and stuff, and then they go, oh, okay, that solves all my problems. So sometimes it's just information.
Let's take one more quick break for our other sponsor here. In today's world of mass-produced products, I've got a killer net to share with you. This is a custom wood net handcrafted with care by Stonefly Nets. Ethan over at Stonefly is a super cool guy, doing some really great work there. I've been using his net, and it's solid. It's going to last forever. It's got a great custom feel. This is definitely a piece of artwork. This is not something you can just kind of buy in the store and get your net. This is something that's going to last for generations to come. So if you want to get a net that you can be proud of, that you can pass on to your kids and down the line, then check out Ethan's work. This one's not only beautiful, but it's got all the bells and whistles as far as quality and customizability. I'm going to throw that one out there. So if you can, please go to wetflyswing.com/stonefly to get your custom net and get started today. I can't say enough about Ethan, the great stuff he has going, how proud I am to be to have them as a sponsor and to share this great product with you. So please support the show, support Ethan and Stonefly Nets, and let's get back to the show. So, and then what about other products? So we've talked about the rod cases. Anything else? What are your other products? Can you do you have a best selling? Is it the rod case that's kind of your number one thing?
Yeah, rod cases make up about 80 to 85% of what we sell. And then we have like the dry bag, like we talked about. We have a waiter bag, but we might have to discontinue it. I don't know. The new pricing coming is so high compared to what it was last time that I don't know if I can sell it on Amazon and make any money at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that yet, but let me see. We've got a few other things. We do like a large tackle binder. This is kind of interesting. So it basically is like a zip open pack that opens up, and it has like 10 3-ring Ziploc binders in it. And people use it for fly tying materials or to carry flies in or something like that. We make a medium tackle binder that's more something you would wear when you're fishing, that you could carry flies with. It's about 8 inches long by about 5 inches wide, and has Ziplocs in it also that guys could put their flies in and just hang it on their belt or something if they were wading or salt fishing or and where you're throwing big flies. And but the large tackle binder is kind of interesting because I would say we sell probably half of them to ladies who use them for sewing gear.
Oh yeah, right.
And, so there's like a whole nother subset of that bag that's actually been really popular, and that's great.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I just jumped on Amazon. I see. Yeah, there's 8 products. I guess I don't. You have your own little BW Sports kind of page, right?
Yeah, we're probably one of their top sellers in rod cases.
And that's what I don't see is the rod cases here. Oh, I guess I have to click on rod cases. There
rod cases. It'll probably bring that up.
There you go. Oh, I see it. Yep. Okay. BW Sports. Gotcha. What's that?
Probably we sell probably equal between spinning and fly. Sportsman's is bigger on fly because they're kind of a Western sell. But the East Coast and the Southeast obviously is more spin and stuff like that, and bait cast. Yeah,
that's a cool thing. And your rod cases. I mean, that's the thing, that they're super reasonable. I mean, like for $40, you can get a basic, and you get your double, or I don't know, this huge triple thing for like $60, and it's got like, I mean, you could fit. How many rods can you fit in your biggest one? Dual sport. Is that just 2?
Just do duals. Yeah. On our stuff. So
gotcha. It's just got the extra side pouches.
Yeah. Then the side pouches, people love those things because if you had like you said, you had a 4-piece case, you could load your rod and reel in the case, and on the side pockets you could carry a couple fly boxes or a lanyard, and you just throw that on your backpack and you're out of there for the mountains for the day.
That's a cool thing.
Got everything you need. Or if you're just day tripping it, you just have a light backpack with your lunch and stuff, and you've got your rod, reel, and everything. And guys carry them in their cars like that, so they pull over, and I'm going to go fish this pond for a couple hours after work, or I'm going to go fish the Provo River or whatever.
Yep.
And they've got everything right there with them. They don't need anything more other than waders.
That's cool. It's cool. So. Yeah. No, I love it. I think when you look at it, you see, for that price point and what you get, it's kind of a cool. Definitely cool. I forgot that you had the double thing. So
yeah, occasionally we get people that were confused early on. We had to change our wording, because I would get this mom that would email me and say, "Does it come with the rod?"
Oh,
I bought it with the rod for $100. Like, no, sorry, it doesn't do that. Did
you get a lot of returns on Amazon for that?
No, we have very little returns at all. Yeah, I mean, occasionally we have people return it, and I don't know why. They couldn't figure it out or whatever. But we sell I sell probably 8 to 10,000 rod cases a year.
Yeah.
So I've sold over the lifetime couple 100,000
Oh, wow.
cases. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fun and it's enjoyable. I do miss the shows, but they just weren't profitable for me after a while. You know, I mean, the sad part was you go to California and if it was raining, you'd have a killer show, right? It was great. But if it was sunny and if it was in March and it was 70 out, people are golfing or fishing, right? Yeah, sorry, I don't have time to come to the show. The weather's too nice. I'm going out and fish, right? So
exactly.
Yeah,
totally. I'm just looking on. It's funny. I'm looking at Amazon. Yeah, you got some of the other. I mean, there's so many different companies now, right, that are selling stuff. But actually, your case, yeah, you're. I think this is not paid, right? Ads. These are just you're like number 4 on Amazon, right behind TFO.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And TFO, we're selling tons of rods, right? Yeah.
Alan,
I like the guys at TFO. They've always been good to me. They've bought bags for me to carry all their reels and stuff, and when they do demos.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, TFO's are cool. They got some good stuff.
A reel bag, we do make a nice reel bag, and that's been popular for years, and that's always been a very good seller. So.
Yeah, I saw that. That's some good. So, and the BW or the not BWO, but the BW. So, did you ever think about changing the name so it was just more specific to you, what you have going? Because what was again the name? The W, or what was the B?
W. So I'm the W because that's the start of my last name, Wray. Then Beck was my buddy was the B, and so we just. And so I have a friend of mine I mentioned earlier, Mike Pratt, who did OGIO. I said, "How did you come up with your name, Mike? It's OGIO." And he goes, "Well, the wife worked for the phone company for a while, and there was OGO was outgoing only, some kind of a switchboard thing." And he goes, "Well, let's just add an I to that, and we could be OGIO and be like Italian or something."
Yeah.
And the idea would be that it doesn't make any difference. OGIO doesn't stand for anything specific, and neither does BW Sports. So I could be selling jeans or clothing or, anything. If you have a name that's not necessarily associated, it is sports. So I guess it would be more, we could do camping gear or we could do whatever. It would be more generic and let you go to different directions. So,
gotcha.
And is one thing. So we thought at one time, well, maybe we could make gun cases, for rifles or handguns, and I even thought at one time about, a waist holder for construction guys to put their electric drills in or something like that they could just have it on their pocket on the side of them. But it's a whole nother group of buyers, totally separate from the fishing people. So that means I have to go find all the hunting buyers now so anybody I've worked with in the past isn't really that good to me other than a referral to the other buyer who may or may not like me or the product. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why once you're kind of in fishing, you kind of want to expand that way because you have all these contacts already. And, like selling something at Home Depot, I got to go figure out who the buyer is at Home Depot and what that person likes it, if I'm even the right price point, it's just a whole, you just start all over again.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. It sounds like a pretty cool journey. And so what's your, now in the next 6 months to a year or anything new? I mean, are you going to be looking to potentially sell this thing, or what do you have coming?
Yeah, probably in the next year. So I'll probably do that. I'm getting close to retirement, about 61, and I kind of like to go out and fish a lot more instead of working.
Yeah.
So, and a lot more road trips and doing fun things. So, yeah, I probably will in the near future here. We'll probably look to start doing that. And I don't need to make a ton of money from buying it, but if they could take my inventory and and throw $2, that'd be fine. I guess I think we'd be good with that. So
yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, that's kind
of what it is. And somebody can take it and come out again with more packs and other things like that. Use the name and use what's already up and rolling. And really have a good head start to keep it rolling right along.
Right. That's right. Yeah, because it's a good case. They're good products. They're definitely, like I said, I don't have one of your rod cases currently, but the doctor's bag, has been beat up, and it's still going strong.
I'll send you a new one then, Dave.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the rod case might be something that I'm, I do have obviously a bunch of rod. Most of my rod cases are. You pop the reel off.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But I still do have
just the tube.
Yeah, the one I do love, I got an old green. I can't remember. I think it's Orvis, but I put my kids. They have 2-piece rods. I I love that because and I do love keeping the fly on and everything, so I can just pop it out and just go with it. So yeah, I think I might have to hit you up on definitely.
Yeah,
One of those.
I'll send you out for doing this. This will be great.
Yeah,
So
yeah, cool.
yeah, I'll send you a dual case. That way you can load more than one. So.
Okay, yeah, and I'll definitely do some yeah, get the word. Well, obviously this is gonna get out to a bunch of people, and although this is what's cool about this, Matt, is that I wanted to be just like this. I did send you out to any newsletter. Nobody knows about this, right? We're doing this is basically how we would do it normally. It'd be just me and you. I'd be recording through a different piece of software. But the funny thing is that your audio is actually really good. You know what I mean? Like that's some of the struggle sometimes with some of these other things. Even I have a paid service I use, Squadcast, which is usually pretty good, but sometimes the audio can be depending on but I think this Clubhouse, they've done a lot of work on making sure the audio is coming in as clean as can be. And you sound great. I'll listen to it in post to make sure, but yeah, I think this might be long term. And the cool thing is that eventually, once I do let people know what we're doing, we could have like today had say, 20 people, 50 people, 100 people down the line where they're sitting there, and maybe they do know your stuff and then they're asking you questions, right? That's kind of the power of the Clubhouse, which, obviously we didn't really do that today, but no, this has been fun to hear the story. Anything else, any parting words for everybody as you?
No, it's fun. It's been enjoyable. I think for the most part, the fishing crowd is a fun group of people. I think hopefully with the whole COVID thing that we got a lot more young people fishing again. Whenever I used to be a scoutmaster for a while with the organization, the church I was with, and we don't do scouts anymore, but it was fun. We'd always haul them up fishing, and teach them how to fly fish. And you'd get 2 or 3 kids out of 10 that just loved it and they do it the rest of their lives, and the others could care less. But hopefully we get more people back into it because it's been kind of an overcrowd, over the years, and it's good to see, guys taking their kids out. Like sounds like you fish with your kids. I took my kids. Was like we used the float power unit. I would troll them around Strawberry, and they'd catch huge cutthroats on flies.
Oh wow!
Loved it, and they were only, I took them started when they were like 6.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember was in the float tube, sound asleep, and she nailed one.
Amazing. You took them out. So you took your 6-year-old out in your float tube?
Yeah, well, I had a float tube, so I had the float power behind me, and I had her tube just D-ringed onto mine, and I was just trolling her along, right?
Man, that's so cool. You're like, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'd be out there like worried that she was going to tip over and fall in the water.
She had her life vest on, and all I had to do is make sure I had the reel on the rod hooked over the apron on the tube.
Yeah.
So it rip it right out of her hands when it hit it. So that always worked really well. So yeah, they caught lots of fish. And once you get them fishing when they're young like that, or camping and hiking, they'll do it the rest of their lives. It's in their blood now, and they love it.
It is. No, I know. My kids are 6 and 8, going on 7 and 9. So they definitely love the camping and all that stuff.
Yeah, and so anytime you hiked or anytime we did a backpacking, it had to end up at water, and we had to fish.
Yep.
Otherwise, what was the point?
That's right. That's right.
I mean, and they loved hiking too, but just for them to hike 10 miles with no destination or no goal wasn't as exciting when they were young. Yeah, that's
cool. Cool, Matt. Well, this has been fun. I'm glad, and it's kind of it's inspiring to hear your story. The fact that you've been doing this for so long, and even with the small, you got your small little niche. And I think for any of those, I think for Ethan and others that are just starting out, I think hearing that, right, that you've kept this going, it's pretty cool. It's doable, right? It's still doable.
You can make it work. You just got to keep plugging away at it, and remember, it's all about just getting out and selling it. And the more people you know, and the more people you meet, and you gotta have a quality. If you have a quality product, it helps. Obviously, you don't want to be selling them stuff that is going to break down.
That's right. As we leave here, what's your biggest sales tip? What would you tell somebody if they're trying to do better at selling?
On selling, I don't know. I think you just gotta do the numbers to start with, and then you kind of got to go with the people that want to work with you. And, don't beat your head against the wall. If you can't get in here, move to the next, to the next opportunity. And then kind of keep feathering down that road, in other words, continue to come out with more products that work, that you can continue to feed the people that are buying your products. Right. And so that, over the last few years, we haven't done a lot of new development. And that's been okay. It's still worked just fine for us. But early on, you want to continue to develop, because as you go down different avenues, all of a sudden you may have one branch of that tree that really breaks off and goes crazy, like the rod cases for us that, we only started out with 2 of them, and now that's 80% of our business. And chest packs was a really good one for us, but it kind of slowed as more and more people got into the chest pack business. The big thing with rod cases for me, the reason I can do rod cases is because I have to put labor into that product before it can be sold. So we have to cut the pipe, fit it, assemble it, wrap it, get ready to ship it, right? Whereas most people want to import it, put it on a shelf, and ship it. So,
right. So there's another step that keeps people from doing it.
Step is what makes the big difference for me, because I can't afford to ship them built because it's just too much air.
Oh, wow, really? So you can't have them build it. They're not doing the whole thing.
No, in fact, the price point's way expensive to do that. And then, so here's an example. Mike, who has mentioned it, owned OGIO, used to ship his golf bags all fully assembled, right, in a containers. And I don't know how many containers it was, and it was just hundreds of containers a year. And the problem is he's shipping air. So he stopped doing that. He just started shipping the skins, and then they assembled the golf bags here. And he saved like $500,000 the first year on shipping.
So who's on your bag? Who's assembling your bags?
Me.
Oh yeah. So you're doing it. Wow. So you're the whole. So you comes in. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah. I say we, but it's pretty much me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're doing it. So
I help occasionally if things are crazy from my wife and kids, but other than that, it's pretty much me.
What does it take you to say if you had 100 bags, or how long per bag does it take you to put one together?
That's a good question. I guess on a rod case, it probably takes, I figure about $1 for me to
or what is it for time wise? How long?
I could probably cut and make 20, I don't know, maybe 50 bags or 50 rod cases in an hour if I'm just cranking. And that's all I have.
50 per hour. That's a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Crank those up. Yeah.
Yeah. 50.
But someone's just going, it'd probably take a little longer. I mean, I ordered pipe the other day. I had a lift come, and it was like a half a mile of pipe, right? It's like 2,700 feet. Jeez. So yeah,
50. So, and you're doing this at your home? Is this your home's your business too? Your warehouse?
Yeah. I don't have to pay for all the rental and all that. And storage units. Yeah. Used to have containers, but my buddy sold his container yard, so I don't have those.
Gotcha.
I don't have those.
That's cool. No, that even makes it even cooler. I mean, it's like 50 per hour. If you think of flies, right, a dozen per hour is pretty decent. So you're 4 times that, and that's with a big rod case. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So.
Cool, Matt. Well, I think I know you got to get out of here, so I just wanted to thank you again for coming on, and this has been a lot of fun. I'll let you know when this is all edited up and get it clean and posted out there, probably in a couple months out on the Wet Fly Swing podcast. So I'll give you a heads up. But yeah, thanks for being my guinea pig here. This has been the initial. I think it's worked out pretty well actually, as far as the audio stuff. Right? Have I been coming in clear most of the time?
That's really clean, and yeah, I think if you had people in the room, when I did the last room that we did before a week or so ago, you could hear everybody really well.
Yeah,
and the question easy to answer and understand, and everyone came through great.
Well, and that's the amazing thing about this. I mean, I think I won't stop doing the other podcast like how I've been doing it, because I think. I do a lot over there, but just doing this every once in a while is cool because it gives people an opportunity to come in and just more interaction. And, like you said, there might be somebody, I know Greg is a buddy of mine who's used your stuff, and, to be able to come up to you or anybody and be able to be like, oh, okay, here's the guy that made my thing. I have a question or, want to say thanks. Yeah. I think, right. That's what's cool about this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good, Dave.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Yeah. I think we're all good.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Matt. I'll check back with you.
You bet. Thanks, Dave.
So there you go. If you want to find all the show notes with all the links we covered, just go to wetflyswing.com/209. Again, a reminder, that was on Clubhouse. I feel like the audio is pretty good on it. Right now it's by iPhone only, so that's one of the catches. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this will be open to everybody around the world, including at Android, but it's in beta, so that's kind of where we're at. But I appreciate you for checking out this show. All those episodes, like this one, if they are live, they will also be posted here, so you'll be able to hear them even if you miss it live. But yeah, if you want to get a chance to raise your hand and come up on stage with a guest we have, that's a really good opportunity. I just want to give a quick heads up for next week's episode. Enrico Puglisi is here to describe how he got into EP fibers after coming across to the U.S. And he's been doing some good stuff over there for a long time. He's slowly transitioning out, but we had a really fun chat. Really love Enrico. So if you don't know him, what he's got going, this will be a good one. So click subscribe so you get updated in your app of choice. That'll make sure you get that delivered right to your phone. Be ready to go. So that's it. That's all I got for you. I hope you're enjoying us mixing it up. If you have an idea or don't like this, let me know. I definitely want to connect. And I just want to give one more shout out again. We've been talking about this, but the members group, if you go to wetflyswing.com/members, I'm connecting, lots of the people that listen to this show. So if you're listening right now and you want to take this deeper, basically what that means is you can talk to people that are listening. You can connect to people in your area. We can check out new places that we're going fishing. We're going to be setting up some trips as we get out of COVID. Lots of good stuff. And really, the members group is the best place to connect with me and guests from the show. And just, that's the spot. So if you're loving this podcast, go over there and just sign up. It'll be a real easy place. Right now, we're allowing people to get in for free. If you want to just kind of join and see what's going on in there and check out the conversation. Okay, now the moment you've been waiting for, the giveaway. If you want to win the rod case from BW Sports, this is the double barrel rod case, you just need to go to wetflyswing.com/giveaway. And that'll get you access to enter the giveaway. This is the best chance that you have to find out what's going on. And the secret password for this giveaway, the secret password is Pink Flamingo. Did you get that? Pink Flamingo. So just remember that and enter, and you'll have a chance to win. So let's do this. Give it a shot. Head over to wetflyswing.com/giveaway and enter to win this bad boy. Thanks again. I appreciate you. I appreciate your support and everything you do each week to spend 60 minutes or so, to listen in. It's really amazing. So that's a wrap. That's all I got for you today. Without further ado, we're getting out of here. It's a late one. Just got off the river today, so just recording this in the mic as usual. But hope to maybe see you very soon online or on the river.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.